How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery, and this is Stop Drinking Alcohol 74. I have 3 questions this week. The first one is to do with making the attempt to stop drinking and stop smoking at the same time. The second was sort of a roundabout question from a guy on YouTube who was obviously pretty drunk when he sent in the question, but a young guy, a young student who just really wanted some advice on overcoming his predicament. And the third question was whether it was a different process for quitting if you're drinking every day rather than binge drinking. So it's taken me a while to get this video done this week. I took a couple of days off at the beginning of the week. We went away, myself and Esther, for Esther's birthday on Sunday, and we stayed away till Tuesday. We went to Alicante. It's the first time we've been up there. It's only up the road from us, maybe, it's an hour. We took the bus up. We've only got scooters, so getting from here to Alicante will probably have taken 3 hours or so. But what a great city, and it's the first time we did this thing called Airbnb, where people open up their homes either to rent out the full home or to rent out a room. And we stayed in an apartment that was right on the centre, right in the front of the dock area, beautiful area, and the woman was lovely, and yeah, just a different experience. I mean, normally when we go away we stay in hotels, not expensive hotels, sort of cheap places, as cheap as we can get. Most of the time when we go away, it is using the place as a base station, and getting out and seeing the place. And we went out and did a lot of shopping, and I have to admit I did have a drink of Diet Coke, which I don't normally drink. And I had 2 or 3 of them, and it always makes me feel really gassy and gives me indigestion, and I don't know why I drink it, apart from I like the taste. And I'm still having problems with that, sticking stuff in my mouth for entertainment value rather than for what it can do for my body, and I'm trying to get there, and I believe I can get there. It's, you might think it's a weird one, but I think we spend too much time thinking about the entertainment value first of the food that we eat. That's my personal opinion, so rather than thinking about what it can do for us. But the point is that living in Spain, I've only been a vegetarian for a little over a year. It's very difficult to find restaurants that deal in vegetarian stuff. There's a couple of vegetarian restaurants up there, but they're in the back arse of nowhere, and you really want to sit on the street, which has got the buzz. There's people walking by, and the vegetarian restaurants, for some reason, nearly always seem to be in back streets, and yeah, it's not. I'd rather flies are driving me mad today. So I'd rather take my chances with the Spanish restaurants, but it's just difficult to try to get pure vegetarian stuff. They always ask for a vegetarian salad here, and there'll be bits of meat in it, or there'll be bits of fish. And I'm a vegetarian for health reasons. I do have my own opinions about the morality of it, but primarily I'm a vegetarian because of my health. So I don't mind picking out the bits of fish, but it's an annoyance. So I tend to eat a lot of crap because I can't get any decent food. So I tend to eat patatas bravas, which is basically French fries, chunks of potatoes fried up, and pasta, that kind of thing. So I don't know whether it's the food or what it is, but when I got back, I was more tired than I left. You know, my diet here when I'm at home is really good. I have a couple of takeouts a week, and it's normally Indian food. But I don't know whether it was the crap food and the cokes and all that kind of stuff that made me feel tired when I got back, or just the fact that we're out walking all the time and exploring. So, but I had every intentions of doing a video on Wednesday, but I just didn't have the energy for it. So a couple of days rest and I'm back to normal again. So anyway, on to the first question, which is about cigarettes and smoking, and it's from Dan Bethards on YouTube, and he said, great vid. I don't know which one he was talking about. Didn't sound rambly to me, probably last week's video. I really enjoy the vids, the wisdom and the experience, very helpful. Thanks again for your help. The question, we are the same age and sounds like we have much of the same history, smoking, 30 years of drinking, etc. I'm on day 6 of not drinking, and I tried to stop drinking and smoking at the same time. Couldn't do it, it was too much at once. I feel kind of bad for it. Started smoking again, but I'm very proud of my 6 days of not drinking. Do you think tackling those 2 items together is too much, too soon? Oh, sorry. Do you think tackling those 2 items together is too much and separating them is wise? I'm definitely going to quit smoking soon. With a high-stress law enforcement job, quitting drinking and quitting smoking was too much. Finally, the question, what is your opinion on my situation? Break the problems down individually or go in and handle them all at once? Thanks. You know, really from everything that I've been reading, there's sort of a divide about which is the best way to go. You know, some people do say that you should try and handle multiple things at once. Other people will say that you should only try and do one thing at once. Now, because there's this divide, and because I haven't sort of made a connection with any of the arguments apart from my own experience, I can only go on my own experience, and that is that every time I've tried to quit doing more than one thing at once, I've always failed. You know, and I'm talking about personally. A lot of the time down through the years, I've got to New Year's Eve, for instance, and just said, right, that's it, New Year coming, fresh start. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop smoking. I'm going to get exercise every day. I'm going to learn a new language. I'm going to, you know, and I'd have a long list of stuff that I was going to do, and I'd start out really, really good. But it's just impossible to do so many things at once and to make so many changes at once, I think, personally. I think if you have the right tools, if you have a good plan, I think it's possible to do 2 things at once, 3 things maybe, you know. I think when I stopped drinking, for instance, I did lose weight, and it wasn't a goal. It wasn't a goal ultimately to lose weight, but it wasn't the goal was to stop drinking, period. You know, I just wanted to get that out of my life. And then once I'd done that, I could work on other things. But the weight started coming off me because I was exercising more. I was getting out and trying to fill the void, fill my life with different things. So I didn't substitute and try and fill my life with junk food or anything like that. I mean, I'd always sort of had a good diet. So just taking all the alcohol out of the equation and adding the exercise in and really carrying on with the way I was eating, I did lose the weight. So I did lose some weight. But it is like there's everyone's an individual, and if you think it was too much, as you said it yourself, you said doing both together was just too much, then it was too much. And you know, what you have to do is to really see which is the thing that you want to get out of your life most. I know both of them can. When I was trying to stop smoking, I was trying to stop smoking for years, and it was only fairly recently, relatively speaking, that I even considered that I had a drinking problem, or that drinking alcohol was a problem in my life, that it was an abnormal thing to do. And it's only since I stopped drinking really that I can see things as they really are, how ludicrous it is to sort of say, well, alcohol drinking is normal. But anyway, that's another story. I hear this all the time. People do say, well, I'm buzzed up for this now and I'm really going to do it. I'm going to quit drinking and I'm going to stop smoking and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it's, focus. Just focus on one thing at a time. That's from my experience. Now, I might change that in the future when I've learned more about the processes myself. But for now, I can't see any other way to getting past this one big thing than to really focus on it. And there's a few different reasons for that. One of the reasons is because if you try and do too many things at once, and you fail at one of them, then that failure could sort of lead to you thinking bad things about yourself, thinking that you're a failure, and that, well, if you've obviously failed in this thing, so if you're trying to quit drinking and smoking and you're trying to lose weight at the same time, and if you go back on the cigarettes, for instance, you could start thinking, well, if I'm a failure at quitting smoking, how long is it going to be really before I go back on the alcohol? Or how long is it going to be before I go back to the shop and buy a trolley full of Oreos and pizzas? So that's one of the reasons. Another reason that I would suggest focusing on one thing is because you can learn so much about yourself, about how you implement the changes in your life and how you deal with things. You can learn a lot about your strengths and your weaknesses just by doing the one thing. And then once you've gone through that one thing, that bit of education about yourself can help you with the next habit that you need to deal with, and the next one after that, and it's the same thing that can help you to build up good habits as well. So really, which one would you quit first? I'd say that whichever one is causing you the most grief, do that one first. So on to the next question. This one's from Rye Onion on YouTube. I'll stick it down below anyway so you can see that. And he said, this guy, he said, though I'm drunk writing this, I caught myself craving alcohol. Though I was 2 weeks sober, I thought, what will a shot or two hurt? Now I'm drunk a few hours later with college classes to attend soon. I really do appreciate your help towards others. I need to watch these sober. But I will not be a lesser man than admit I am a very proud sober man. When I'm sober, I don't think drinking is a big deal, nor do I have a problem. Sober, I'm terrified of a life without drinking forever. But drunk, I realize I have a problem. I could get into my family background and my past to why I think and act this way. It's easier to say the excuse. I need help stopping. I have to not go to my classes now because I'm too drunk. How can I stop this bullshit? Pride. And wake up with a sense. I clearly need help. What is your advice for this hardcore dysfunctional mindsets to help make sense? To be honest with you, first thing, if you watch these while you're sober, if you see this answer, then watch the videos while you're sober. You get a lot more out of them. I don't think you're going to get much from from retaining any information that you hear in these videos or any other videos. You're not going to hear. You're not going to retain much. You're not going to remember much if you watch them while you're drunk for a start. The second reason is because of the way you perceive the videos. I mean, I remember when I was drunk and I used to do the same things. I'd start thinking about my drinking. Towards the end now, I've drank for a long time. You sound like you're a young guy. You're a young person, I don't think. there's any indication whether you're a man or a woman, but I presume you're a male. And I've been doing it an awful lot longer, and towards the end, when I really saw my drinking as a problem, I started looking at videos when I was drunk, and I started going to forums when I was drunk, and I just made a fool out of myself, really. And I didn't really, it's like what you said in your comment, that when you're sober you don't really see things as a problem at all. So another reason for not watching these videos when you're drunk is because you're going to see things from an emotional perspective, and when you're thinking about quitting, you're obviously contemplating doing it, but if you need to see things as positively as possible. I'm not one of those people that looks at life and says that you have to look at everything positively. I think there's times when you have to see the negatives, but you have to see the positive side of the negativity, if you know what I mean. And if you're watching videos like this when you're drunk and you're seeing, you listen to what I'm saying or whatever anyone else is saying, there's a chance that you could start beating yourself up, and that's not good. That's never going to be good for you. So, really, you need to sit down and think about your problem when you're sober. You need to sort of get a realistic grip on things when you're sober. It's only then that you're going to be able to make the proper decisions that you need to make, and it's only then that your decisions are going to stick. Really, I've been there where you are, thinking about the pain when I've been drinking, when I am drinking, but then once the hangovers wear off and stuff, and I'll go back to my normal thinking then and think, well, it's the same thing. What will a pint or two hurt? It's not going to hurt at all. But it's not about the alcohol. It's about, if it wasn't for the alcohol, it would be something else, It's about dealing with situations, whether that situation is just pure boredom, whether it's socializing, whether it's fitting in with what everyone else is doing, whether it's anxiety or pressure or whatever. It's a tool at the end of the day that people use to fix these problems, but it doesn't fix anything, it just masks, like I say, you sound like a young guy, or at least a young person, and you guys are the hardest to coach because you're not feeling the big symptoms, the big damage probably hasn't been done to your body yet, and the hangovers are probably not lasting as long as somebody who would be a bit more mature or has been drinking for a lot longer time. So even though you see the problems and you understand that you've got the problems, once you sober up very quickly afterwards, you don't really see it as a problem anymore, It's easy to go back and go, well, yeah, I can go through this thing and I can cut down and I can control it, and I've seen this time and time again in my own life and in other people's, from other people's comments, from other people's stories that I've heard, that is just one of the stages that we all go through. It's that trying and attempting to control the alcohol, and it's the nature of the alcohol, the nature of the beast. I think when sometimes a lot of people in their 50s and 60s tend to start controlling alcohol because they have to, not because they see that they've got a drink problem, but because the symptoms of drinking are getting that bad that they have no choice. Before my dad stopped drinking, now he was in his late 70s when he stopped, he couldn't drink as much anyway. His hangovers were just getting almightily bad, for him. So, I think when he did stop, it was an easier decision. I guess what I'm trying to say is that, you have to sort of look at what not drinking is going to benefit you more in the long run. I mean, if you're skipping classes because you're getting drunk, then it's not a good thing. And imagine what you could be like, what you could achieve if you were going to your classes and just in general in life. I hear this thing all the time that people say, well, I'm a functioning alcoholic, and that I'm successful in my life apart from this. I have success in my business, I have success in relationships, I have success in just all these different areas in life, and yet they still drink 4, 5, 6 days a week and drink until they get drunk most days. So it's not a question of, you're successful in this despite what you're doing, despite your drinking. Imagine how much more successful you would be if you didn't drink at all. If you got alcohol out of your life, if you didn't use any drugs, and it's taken me 30 years to realise that the thing that's been holding me back all these years has been the alcohol, has been the use of drugs, of dampening my mind and restricting my thoughts and just fucking up my brain, basically, fucking up my body with for what? It's all getting your gratification now, getting what you need in the short term, in payment for long-term pain. You're always going to have to pay for the stuff that you're doing to yourself. Do you know what I mean? When you say that you can't imagine what life would be like without having a drink in your life, then that's all in your head. And like I say, it's taken me 30 years to realise that all the fact of going out and partying, and it's all in the head, it's all in the culture, it's turning things around so that you can live life without alcohol. I mean, you've turned it around in the first place so that all these things revolve around alcohol. So it is turning things back around and living and going back to where you were before, not literally or physically, but in terms of getting alcohol out of your life. Whatever aspect of your life you look at, it's going to be better without drink. Take for instance dealing with other people. It was one of my biggest fears, was how can I socialise when I stop drinking? How do I go out? And I don't know any other way. I don't know any other way than having a few drinks before I go out. Even that's the level that I was at, and now I love it. And if anyone wants to come toe to toe with me now and challenge why I'm not drinking, or challenge my manhood or anything like that, and call me a sissy, or say, well, that try and defend their normal drinking, bring it on, because I'm quite capable of putting up my own defence. I like going out and drinking water. I like going out and enjoying other people's company, and I love remembering things. Going back to my holiday in Alicante at the weekend, I remember everything for a start. I didn't wake up every morning like I would have done in the past with a dirty, stinking hangover, and I didn't need to break the bank. It cost me nickels and dimes to eat out, and it cost me half the amount as what I would have paid for a night out, just having a meal and a few, albeit drinking the Cokes, which is another story, but cost me half the amount of money. So life is good without alcohol. We just presume that that alcohol is the thing that makes life interesting, and life is going to be boring without alcohol. What bullshit! Alcohol, life without alcohol is only boring because you make it boring. you know, if you think outside the box a bit, and you know, one of the reasons why a lot of people drink is because it's so easy to do. It's a fix-all sort of solution to any problem. You know, you feel anxious, you have a drink. You feel tired, you have a drink. You feel bored, you have a drink. You go out and you feel insecure, you have a drink. It's an easy way of doing things. So when you stop drinking, you have to face these things head on, and you have to start thinking about them. And you know, generally, once you do start thinking about these things and start thinking about how you can deal with your problems, you will find solutions which are more, how would you say, they're more, I'm slipping all over the place here. This is all real dusty stuff. It hasn't rained here for ages. Sorry, they're more geared towards you. You know, your solutions will be more aimed at yourself, about, you know, what you want in life and what you need in life, instead of the big old fix-all problem, which is the solution is not going to be a solution. It's not a solution to anything. Rambly. You know, so when I go out now, I don't ever try and interfere with anyone else's drinking. If that's what they want to do, that's fair enough. And I don't expect anyone else to interfere with me. You know, like, I don't drink, and if that's a problem to anyone else, then, to be honest, fuck them. You know, shut up about it. I don't want to hear it. You know, it's like, if you've got a problem with it, then you've got a problem with it, you know. I don't have a problem with it anymore. I don't have a problem with you drinking. If you want to drink, then, you know, fair enough. I feel sorry for you, because you're still in that trap. You're still in that bullshit mentality of thinking that this is a normal thing to do. Whereas I'm not. And I'm not saying that to boast or to say, well, you know, I'm cleverer than you or anything like that. I wish I could. You know, there's several people in my life who I wish I could say, yeah, these are the words that I can say to you now, and it will make you go, oh shit, yeah, right, I get what you mean, and it would turn you into a non-drinker. And you know, those are the closest people in my life, but I can't do that. There is no words that I can say to do that. I don't know if I'll ever have those words, but look, what can you do? And you know, you said another thing as well. You said that you have a hardcore dysfunctional mindset. You know, and I don't agree with that. You're sort of building it up. You've got a problem with drinking, period. That's the way you should look at it, you know. It's just a problem with alcohol. It's a simple problem to solve. You stop drinking, period. Then you deal with your life. It's much better to try and deal with these things when you're sober and when you're not poisoning your head and you're not under the influence of any drugs, when you're thinking straight, than trying to deal with them when you're drunk, you know. So did I get that the wrong way around? Anyway, okay, the next question is from James Carmichael on YouTube, and he's talking about binge drinking. He said, Kevin, what do you think about this? I'm a binge drinker. I only drink once or twice a week, usually on Thursdays, because I don't work on Fridays, and usually Fridays or Saturday night. I can't go out and have a sensible night, if there is such a thing. I drink until I can't drink anymore. But I can go through the week without drinking. But I can go through the week without drinking at all, apart from those days. I'm only 27, but I've really recognised that drink is a huge problem in my life, and I really want to give it up. Over the last 2 years, it started taking me 2 or even 3 days to get over a hangover, and I feel normal again. Drinking has led on to other things such as cocaine use and smoking, which I do full time now. Is there a different approach for binge drinkers as opposed to people who drink every day? You know, I think all of us are binge drinkers to one degree or another. I used to drink most days, but I used to have the odd day off. But mostly, I couldn't binge drink. I couldn't, you know, go out and drink my normal 20 pints in one session if I had to get up in the morning and go to work. So I would have to keep it down to 5 or 6 pints, or whatever it was, a bottle of wine, which I did in most nights. But like I say, I couldn't really I couldn't really go over the top unless it was at the weekend, unless I didn't have to get up in the morning. Once I was self-employed, that's a different story. You can sort of, if you're in the mood for it, you can binge drink. I could binge drink, or I would binge drink, and I just wouldn't get up in the morning. I just wouldn't do any work in the morning, and there would be no consequences. And I think it all boils down to that. If there hadn't been consequences, when I'm talking about consequences, negative consequences, you're talking about the feeling that there's something wrong, that you're getting damage. Regardless of what damage is being done, if you don't perceive it, if you don't feel it, then it's not really a consequence. If you go into work and you don't perceive anybody is talking about you, or that there's any real issues with your work, the quality of your work or anything like that, regardless of what other people think about it, regardless of what your boss thinks about it, then it's not really a consequence because you don't perceive it. It's the same with me when I was working. So long as I could pay the bills, pay the rent, pay the electricity, pay the food, give my son money, buy him clothes, that kind of thing, as long as those things were done, there was really no negativity, no negative consequences, because I didn't feel them. Although I might have always thought about, well, if I didn't drink, what could I do? That didn't matter. It's not really a consequence, it's only a thought, a quick thought that goes through your head. So the whole philosophy is based around what we perceive as being normal, and if getting back to normal is getting back to that stage where this is where I was. I was in a place where I would drink. I would get, have the urge to go out and use my drug of choice, which was alcohol. I would get my fix. I would go into the high, whatever it was. Then I would get the down. I would come down off it. I would recover from that down, that hangover, and it would basically be about waiting and anticipating the next fix. So you're in that cycle of drink, drunk, recover, drink, drunk, recover, and in amongst that cycle there is an element of anticipation where you are waiting for the next fix. So you're all the time going around in this circle, and that has to cloud everything else. It's got to affect everything else in your life. There's no way that it can't. So if you don't have that cycle, and what are your successes going to be in life? How far what can you achieve in life if you get yourself off that horrible fucking cycle? That's what I'm trying to say. And again, like I said in the last video, if you're bored once you stop drinking, then it's your own fault. There's no reason to be bored. It's just you're making yourself bored by sitting around thinking about being bored. There's plenty of things. Life is full of things to do. We just are lazy because we choose most of the time to fill that boredom with drinking, or fill that gap with drinking. Do you know what I mean? Another thing is, you say, well, you drink, you've started to take cocaine and you started to smoke. How many times have you heard this thing that marijuana is the gateway drug to everything else? If the reason why marijuana is illegal is because it leads to people taking other drugs. It might lead to speed or ecstasy or heroin, God forbid, you know. And what bullshit is that? The gateway drugs are cigarettes and alcohol. You know, I mean, it's always been the case that you're not allowed to buy cigarettes or alcohol before you're 18 years of age. Always, but not always, but always since I've been around anyway. I started smoking when I was 8 years of age. I had my first puff of a cigarette we bought from a little old lady down at the local shop who was selling separate cigarettes. Old fucking bitch, you know, selling loose cigarettes to children. You know, like, and these people should know better, but just for the profit, it comes down to that. You know, she's an old drug dealer who's selling her wares to young kids. So the 18 legality thing, you know, before you're 18 just doesn't mean a shit. And I was smoking properly and full time by the time I was 13. Full time. I had my first drinks when I was a young lad as well, maybe 13, I can't remember the exact age. But again, it was easy to get. If you want to get your hands on these things, you can get your hands on them. So for anyone to even suggest that it's marijuana is the gateway drug to everything else, it's just bullshit. It's cigarettes and alcohol are the two worst culprits. They lead to everything else. You know, you'll find that any heroin addict has first started out using alcohol or nicotine. You know, when it comes down to any drinking, I think, you know, unless you're talking about guys who are drinking every day and are drinking all day and who are seriously in danger of quitting drinking, and that's maybe 5% of heavy drinkers are in that category. Most people who have drinking problems do function, do manage to get about, and don't drink all the time. You know, they don't drink in the afternoons or the mornings, or they take days off and all that kind of stuff, you know. You know, that what we have to do, the big thing is that quitting alcohol is the simple process of stopping, putting the alcohol inside your body, regardless of what level of alcohol use you're at. If you stop the alcohol use, stop the tap, so to speak, you cut off the source of the problem in the first place. Then you have to deal with your life without alcohol, but that's a different story. It's part of the same story, but you know where I'm coming from. It's if you don't put the alcohol in, you cannot get worse at it. You know, you can only get better then, and you have to deal with stuff. And that is basically the problem with most people, is they're afraid to quit because they don't want to imagine what life is going to be like without that little tap. You know, they have a problem with something, they can turn on the tap. They have boredom with something, they turn on the alcohol tap, and you know, the boredom goes away. The problem goes away for a while. The anxiousness goes away. The shyness goes away. The worry about something goes away with just turning on this little tap. So break the tap, throw it away, smash it up with a hammer, do whatever, you know, get rid of the tap and don't turn the tap on anymore. That's your alcohol problem sorted out. And to stop it coming back, to stop you recycling back into that old lifestyle again, you deal with the problem. You deal with the problems in your life. You know, the problems that are turning you to drink, the boredom, the anxiety, the shyness, and all that kind of stuff. You said that, you know, over the last 2 years, it's taking me 2 or even 3 days to get over the hangover and feeling normal again. You know, and it's only since I've stopped drinking that, you know, I've really understood what normalcy is, you know, and that normalcy of in between drinks was never there in the first place. It was just a complete and utter delusion, because of that cycle of drunk and recovery. Now, so in answer to your question, is there a different approach for binge drinkers as normal drinkers, or, you know, long-term drinkers? Then, you know, for every different type of problem drinker, there is a different drinking problem. Everyone is unique. everyone is different. You know, it's everyone's problem is going to have different elements to it, and it's basically all boils down to the same thing. You turn off the alcohol tap, stop drinking the alcohol. You know, that's your first step. Everything else then is just dealing with the alcohol life that you've built up around the alcohol, you know, breaking that down bit by bit. So I hope that makes sense. So if you have any questions at all, as normal, go over to the website, leave a comment, send me an email at kevin@alcoholmastery.com. There's also the comment section at the top of the website. If you haven't joined up to the newsletter, then you know, head on over there. In the sidebar, you can just leave your name and email address. It's completely free, won't cost you anything. We won't send you any spam at all. It's just the newsletter. So until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery. Onwards and upwards.